Okay, what's our agenda today? We hope to have a better understanding of the impact that the economy has had on the insurance brokers and carriers. And we're going to talk about how we can make your agency more efficient so that you can be more productive with building your commercial book.
We have some remnants still that are happening with small businesses today. So you are going to feel that, and our brokers are telling us that in the surveys that we're doing. The commercial market is beginning to shift from a hard market towards a soft market. And that is, we haven't seen that for a while. We've been in a hard market for quite some time now. So it's not happening in all classes of business and all coverages, but it is beginning to show signs of that. And it's something really important that you need to be looking for. And watching out for, because it's going to, you're going to go from more of an E&S market to standard markets becoming more competitive. Right now it's showing strong signs in the E&O business, E&O side of things, but it hasn't quite hit the property liability section as heavily, but it will. It's coming, and you're going to see carriers that jump in and start loosening their underwriting and lowering premiums. Brokers are also experiencing a slowdown in new business opportunities and more competition on renewal businesses, and that's what you're going to see as it shifts from a hard market to soft market, because everyone's going to be competing for new business, and people are going to be competing for your renewal business, and so it's really important to we'll talk about some of those things that you can do to stay competitive. Small businesses are struggling with the increased cost of running a business. So that is a factor that's making them probably go out and look a little bit more for better pricing. And that's going to be important for you to be very good. We'll talk about some things that can get us there. How to excel during the hard to soft market. So this is going to be the biggest thing you're going to be wanting to watch out for. The shift from a hard to soft market, it's going to be tricky. And we probably have all gone to sleep because it's been a while since we've had to make this shift. So it's like having one foot in the door and one foot out. And so that's going to be the challenge. If you're going to have to keep very attuned to the carriers that are ending up being that are shifting from back into the soft market and are loosening their underwriting, because they don't always tell you when they loosen their underwriting or change their rates. Renewal retention will be impacted as the market shifts, and new business opportunities will become much more competitive, as I mentioned in my previous slide. Evaluating your agency's client's service value proposition is crucial to retaining and growing your commercial book of business. So what we're seeing is statistics are out there are showing, when they're doing surveys of brokers, of clients of insurance brokers, that they're saying that the client service value is really crucial and important to them. As we all know, pricing is always important, but those surveys are showing that small business owners want good customer service, and that's one of the most common drivers of renewal retention. So it's important for both new business and renewal business. You're evaluating what it's going to take to succeed, and you're going to have to do that on an ongoing basis, because that one foot in the door and one foot out the door is really a moving target that as the market shifts, and you're going to have to shift with it and sort of stay ahead of it. That's what a big business, an important business practice that I follow, is to try and stay ahead of these movements. Okay, so one of the places I think it's always important to talk about and review is your agency operations. I know, it's so easy to stay busy, doing your business, but it's really important to take time and look at your agency and and put a plan into place. Do you have a business plan that guides the success of your agency? And that it absolutely addresses both new and renewal business because both are equally important. It's important to evaluate your operational systems. It's wonderful, sales, new business sales, and even you're selling your renewals each year. That's the super important element of your company, but equally important is to be able to operate efficiently. And so that's that's where you really want to look at your renewal process and your customer service efficiency. Are you making, so if those surveys are saying that, you want to make sure that you're giving that kind of customer service that is going to help retain your client, even if the price is not as low as someone else is offering. They just like doing business with you because you take good care of them. Do you have a plan for new business production? That's equally important. As I said, it's a 50-50 priority for new business versus renewal business. And last, are you measuring your results on an ongoing basis? Do you know how you're doing? And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. So first, let's just take a look at your book. What is the most profitable balance? I'm, if you want my opinion, and I've been in the industry a long time, and I've been on all sides of it. I've been on your side of it. I've been on the wholesale side of it, and so I understand both. And I find that personal lines is probably the heaviest customer service, and it is not as profitable as your commercial lines will be. So, and life is somewhere there. It's just sort of a combination to personal lines as far as I'm concerned. But, depending on whether you're a farmer, you're a captive agent or an independent, whether you have a requirement that you must meet a certain criteria with personal lines in life, that's something that you've got to figure out, with whatever that, whatever carrier that you're captive with. But where I would place my focus is on commercial lines because that's the most least customer service. If you touch them once, really good once a year, they're it's a stable book. It's higher premiums and far less customer service. So let's start with looking at a simple sales equation for both renewals and new business that I think just sort of breaks it up. Everyone's got some kind of pitch for a sales equation over the years. I've seen it many times, but this one was, for me, was the most, it just defined the whole process and separated the parts that are all three equally important to pay attention to in order to renew your policies and bind new business. And that's it. You just for renewals, you're going to follow an X date expiration list, and for new business, you are gathering X dates for future dates that you want to be working on. So that starts the sales equation. Then you're going to make a formal presentation that needs to that's an equally important part. And then most people fail on the close, which means your follow up, making sure that that you get a yes to your renewal or your new business proposal, and then finally that leads to your close. It's a simple, but all three of those parts, it just breaks it up in three parts where you can easily see how you can pay attention to each of those parts to make sure you renew your policy and bind new business. Effective operational agency systems. This is we use this at our company. For us, it's electronic. This is just a visual for you to take a look at. So let's just say if we'll start with your renewals on the left-hand side, we we work from monthly renewal lists. So we run an expiration list in our agency management system, and we renew. And you're usually working at least 3 months at a time, because you've got the start of a renewal, and then you've got the finishing of renewals. And so it can roll over a 3-month period of time where you're working 3 months at a time. That's the most important, easiest way to work renewal business and track it, make sure it's been issued and you've been paid your commissions on it. Because those are the key things: the policy issued and you earn your commissions. So you don't want to track new business production monthly. You want to track new business production weekly, and that gives you 52 start dates. So weekly, you know how you're doing. We publish a report by each of our underwriters in our office weekly to show how our new business production has been that week. And so we don't have to wait a month to figure out, well, we didn't do so well, let's see if we could turn the ship around. It's each week we know how we're doing, and it's the most effective way to be to manage production and know where you're at and not lose track of time. Okay, commercial and production growth. First, you want to establish realistic goals, and that is, a lot. Most people fail here. They don't take the time to just establish a goal, what's reasonable. And if you're looking at it weekly, sometimes you have to manage that by the bigger picture as well. So if you're going to set a weekly goal, that goal may be reached for the weekly amount, may be reached over the month, but it nonetheless, I always set it up to be weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, so that you could measure it from all different aspects. So also you want to determine the percentage of goals for agency lines of business. So you want to break it down even further. So what am I looking to write? Well, today we're talking about commercial. So but you may want to break it down to types of coverage. If you're looking to grow, your renewal book and maybe add more production lines of coverage, right? Maybe you want to focus on workers' comp more. You want to grow that portion of it, or maybe you want to focus on your professional liability, your E&O, your EPL, your cyber. To grow the existing renewals that you have. So that's one way of looking at it. For new business, you can also do the same, that you're really looking not to just go in for the GL and property, but that you're looking to go in and sell all lines of coverage. And then you can break that out and set your goals accordingly. Most importantly, you really want to be looking at your PIF growth, policy in force, and that's that balance between renewal policies and your new business production. So if you will always lose renewal policies because something changes, someone sells a business, something happens. So you will have business falling off the book. So you always have to be writing new business. The most important thing is that you see PIF growth, which really shows you whether you're actually writing more new business than you are losing in renewal business. And that's PIF growth. And then you consider a balanced policy premium size of your commercial book. That becomes important. If you're just writing small policies all the time, you're not going to grow as fast as you could with maybe a balanced book of small, medium, and occasionally a larger policy. So let's look at marketing for new business, and we're focusing on commercial. You want a marketing strategy and you want to put it to work. So a marketing strategy is maybe you're going to take a look at certain classes of business that you want to focus on, and that way maybe pick classes of business that maybe you can easily write multiple lines of coverage. So you're maximizing the amount of premium that you can write for new business. You want to establish weekly goals for new business production. And that becomes what I just spoke about, is like you need to have those goals set. And you can set it for weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. This is an important thing for new business. You want to implement an electronic filing system, and this is for your new business leads. So as you're tracking, you want to have a system for creating profiles with expiration dates for upcoming future clients that you can go after their insurance over time. And you really want to be managing them and working them 10 weeks out from that expiration date. It's like a marketing schedule that you would work. So you just you could use, it's simple as an Excel filing, Excel spreadsheet that you can actually list them all on it, keep adding to it, and then maybe have a file, alphabetical file, or by X date filing system where you keep or you could do it electronically or hard copy for your risk profiles on these risks as you gather information. Make contacts. You've got to data mine and get out there and find clients in the classes of business that you are interested in. You want to follow the sales equation. That's really important because you work the X day, you've got to make a formal presentation, and you have to close the sale. And then always allow enough time when submitting for quotes. Carriers, are still have not quite recovered from their aspect of the economic downturn. There was a lot of change in staffing with carriers, and so quoting is starting to improve, but is still not quite there to allow enough time. So let's talk about some stable business to potentially focus on. These are probably the top ones that we're writing the most of in our office, and so I think that this is probably a good guide for you if you're starting to put together a new business plan and looking in a direction that you want to go in. The only thing that I don't, consultants is on here, but your professional services for your E&O classes, I think that's a really solid direction to go in as well. So you could expand on that. Consultants, anyone providing professional services should fall into that category because we write a variety of that. So recommended marketing strategies for agencies. So this is really, how do you go out and find new business? And really, it is a relationship building business. It's all about getting to know people. And you can get to know people on social media, but I don't think you can ever forget or use only social media. It has to be person to person. You have to get involved because that handshake, that meeting people, talking to them and getting to know them is really important in person. And so getting involved in business councils and local associations is really valuable because you start to build those relationships. Holding information sessions at events and meetings, even those local associations, or even in well, I'll mention I'm going to the last one first. You can sponsor local events in target industries. So, maybe in the contractors industry, the restaurant industry. So you can join trade organizations that you can actually become involved with and get to know a lot of their clients, which would be restaurant owners. You want to find ways to network with local business owners, and you want to participate physically in local events in your community. That's a great way to build a trust level with your potential clients. So now let's talk about renewals, commercial renewals. My philosophy is treat every renewal like it's new business. It's really important to not negate that. or overlook that in any way, because most of the time you only touch commercial renewals once a year, and that becomes the most important time to um, make sure that you have done a good job. You've reached out to them. You've made sure that they know that you're there for them. You provide a professional presentation to them, and that you close that renewal. Also important, as I mentioned before, is to manage your renewals by an expiration report, so that you must have some kind of, expiration list that actually where you can track and ensure that you've renewed everything and you haven't missed anything. You want to calculate your retention and lapse ratios monthly. How are you doing with your retention? Are you know are you renewing 90% of your renewals? Are you renewing 80%? Are you renewing 70, 60%? You want to know. And um, I definitely, it's ideal not to do it by number of policies, but by the premium. So that total premium, you know, uh, versus the amount of premium that you're losing. That really gives you the best benchmark. And then you want to manage policy audits to prevent non-renewals, because that's it, when you lose a renewal that way, it's just really a pain. Obviously you've lost the relationship with the insured, and that's really important to make sure that that you have that relationship with them, so that because we will always let you know when an audit, we need assistance with an audit. And so if you have that good relationship with your client, you're going to be able to educate them and help them get get through that audit, so that their policy doesn't non-renew. And then asking for referrals. Referrals is a really a big one, and obviously it gets overlooked a lot of the time. So if you're doing a great job, you should automatically get referrals from your clients, but asking for them is not a bad idea at each renewal. So let's have a competitive edge to achieve success. Okay, and what does that look like? Let's concentrate on your client retention. That's really that, as we've been talking, that becomes, that's your bread and butter. That's what's already on the books. So that becomes really important. You want to build strong relationships, and that really comes from from great service, and then providing subject matter expertise. And that's being knowledgeable and being able to add value to your clients' business, and to be able to talk about risk issues that that the insurance protects them from. Cross-selling your book, as I mentioned previously, is a really is a key for your renewal. It creates stability for your renewal business and adds premium to your renewal book. And then be empathetic with clients. We are all in the same boat together. And so, what your client is experiencing, we are experiencing. And so that it's important to understand each other and feel each other's pain sometimes. So let's just briefly go over the coverages that commercial clients need. Obviously, you guys know the property and general liability. Fidelity is an important one. A lot of times, a lot of clients need standalone fidelity, so that becomes important. Cyber liability should be a standalone policy. There, we have a self-quote system, so it makes it really easy for you to go in and get a quote at any time. And you can contact Lexi Johnson. She's our professional underwriter. So professional liability, which mainly focuses on your E&O and your employment practices. We're specialists in garage as well. And garage is an important coverage for all. There's just a lot of auto service out there. Service and sales. Directors and officers, where applicable, is an important coverage. There's your EPL as well. Workers' compensation is a good one to not overlook. Hired and non-owned auto, inland marine, and umbrella. I know that there was a question from someone about building your agency team, and that becomes crucial. When to build your agency team is when you feel like it's time that you need to duplicate yourself. You don't hire someone to be an assistant. You hire someone where it's time for you to duplicate yourself, which means that you don't hire them to do just certain tasks. You want to teach someone to be a teammate with you and learn how to do all tasks in an office as you go forward. How to find good people. One of the methods that we've used over time, you definitely have to invest a little bit of time in your interviewing practices and be able to weed through um, candidates that may not be right for your agency and find those that will have the character, the efficiency levels, attention to detail, and ability to duplicate you and the things that you do. How do you keep good people? By being a good employer. That's the most important thing for you to you to recognize. Um, a lot of times you have to really take a look at yourself to make sure that you're taking good care, investing in your employees, paying them well, and investing in their education and training is really important as well. So that to me, if you've picked the right person to begin with that has that good character, then you're going to have a dedicated employee who, if you treat well, will stay with you and will be loyal to you. And how to train. Our claim to fame really has become how to train. We have a very sophisticated training system and we invest a lot of time into our employees. It takes a lot to invest properly and you really do need to have established procedures. You have to have systems for them to follow and that sets the foundation of managing your renewals and how and going after new business production. So that becomes very important that you have systems in place. That takes time, takes writing procedures or having a good employee that can help you write those procedures and that everyone in your office follows those same procedures and no one is going rogue. So to me, that those are important ways. We have hired a lot of our employees through we're close to San Diego State and in San Diego, and so we brought them in as part-time interns, paid, and then over time, and many of them have come on as career employees, and if they do a wonderful job for us, and it's been a great, and we train from within, and so that's been our claim to success. So I hope that answers a couple of your questions on that. How can CID help you? Well, we're definitely, we think, the broker's preferred wholesale solution. Our underwriters are very knowledgeable, they're efficient, and they answer their phones and answer their emails. So you're going to get a high level expertise. They've been with us. They're mature underwriters. They've been with us for a number of years so that they know what they're doing. They were pretty fast and easy with our quote options, and we work to push out competitive premiums as often as we can. We also have a website that has lots of information where you could go in and make customizable marketing material, by classes of business or by coverage. So if you want to market your renewals, you can use like you could send out one of these like an employment practices liability or a workers' comp marketing piece along with your renewals in order to promote different lines of business on your renewals. We have proposal templates that will make writing commercial insurance a lot easier, which becomes very important because that's making up templates is not always the easiest. So we've got a wide variety of them by class of business and coverage. Take advantage of our educational opportunities. We've got educational videos and webinars on our website that you can watch at your leisure. And And then we do offer office training as well. It's usually done virtually. So if you're interested in that for your team, let us know. And then focus on renewal retention and new business production. You want that PIF growth. So there were a couple questions that came up before I sign off, because this is our last slide. I talked about, one was about recruiting staff. And so that I've talked a little bit about that. Most of the time we either go through the colleges and we run ads, and we pick one of the companies that we work with, and we have some success there. I think there was a question about a traditional pendulum swing, and I believe that someone was referencing probably the hard to soft market, and that swing is beginning to happen. So I think I've answered that question at all. And I think I've answered most. When when is the right time to hire your first employee? And that's when you've reached the point where there is you can't spread yourself around any further. You're spread too thin as it is, and you won't be able to give good customer service. But again, duplicate yourself. Don't hire them to be an assistant. Help teach them all facets of the business so that they can be a teammate with you. Thank you for joining us. And again, I apologize for the technical issues that we came across, and look forward to seeing you in other webinars. And please reach out to any of the underwriters to obtain quotes. Thank you for joining us.